Speaking
The
of
Bear,
trauma,
The Bear season 3.
oh
First and foremost, I know you like binging.
yes,
However,
I still did it in 2 sittings. I will say,
my counterpoint for binging, I think, is perfectly encapsulated with The Bear season 3. Each
yeah,
episode of this is so emotionally exhausting that trying to binge this is actually quite hard. Like, I'm not someone I make no secret of it. I'm not a particularly emotional person.
mm.
Um, for whatever reason, that's something for an overpaid therapist to work out in about 20 years' time. But I'm not very good at showing my emotions at all. This
Uh,
show beat the shit out of me with season 3.
bro. I I binged it in 2 sittings. I probably could have done it in 1, but yeah, it was like, and don't get me wrong, like I binged season 1 and 2 of The Bear because I only started watching when season 2 had just come out. So it's like I binged it pretty not like across like a week. So I did that pretty quick, and that was intense. Like, oh, that was intense. But yeah, it's this one more than ever. I feel like hit from so many different angles because every
Yes.
episode was just like a change of pace or change of like angle somehow. Um,
I'm going to say it. This is the greatest show of all time.
yeah, I've got this is some of, if not the best TV show I think I've watched. The
And do you
only
know,
other show that has like hooked me so hard was Sons of Anarchy, but that's like a long show and it's not nearly as like as captivating.
the only other shows that get put in a conversation of the greatest shows of all time, stuff like The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, The Wire, stuff like that,
Yeah,
what do they all have in common? They have to rely on crime and violence to get the emotional hooks into you
yeah,
for you to go, wow, this is phenomenal.
true.
This show is doing it in a fucking kitchen in Chicago.
Yeah, that
Just
I've got
what?
the this season especially. Like I've said it about season 1 and 2. Like it's a great representation of kitchens. They've and what chefs do go through, like stress wise and stuff. This season felt almost just like a love letter to cooking and the craft. Like episode 1 for the bear was like a complete change of pace. It
Yeah,
was like
we're not going to talk.
yeah, it was calm and it showed like I loved that it showed Carmy's like journey because we'd obviously got some of that in the previous seasons. We saw him in the intense restaurant. We know he worked at the Olivia Colman's restaurant. I forget what that one was called.
Ever.
Ever like we know he worked at those places, but we don't really know much else. Um, I love that it showed all these different places he worked at where he learned different things, went through different, and then you think I I think that made it more painful to then see how he is now because you're like, you went to some incredible restaurants that had incredible atmospheres. Unfortunately, the one where the guy was a prick to you and gave you like in this season he addresses it at the end, but like gave him mental health issues, unfortunately has shaped how he has become as a chef more than any of the others. But like that first episode just felt like such a celebration of the food.
It it was crazy. I'm not sure how I feel about Jeff Winger being so mean. Um, it's not very 6 seasons in a movie of him. What I will say is, I was delighted with the amount of Olivia Colman.
Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen of the podcast, you know how I feel about Olivia Colman.
Like
me,
we
me and Jenna were sat there, especially in the last episode.
yeah, the funeral
And
dinner.
I was like, you know what? I love you more than anything in the entire world. But if Olivia Colman was 10 years younger, I'd take a punt. Because I can't believe she's not also one of the greatest people ever in real life. Because she just comes across with such sincerity. It's crazy.
That like we'll hold off. That last episode was such a
All
just
of them
such
were great, Hori. It's
yeah.
insane.
But like that
They
last
don't
episode
miss.
especially was like that dinner. But like we went from episode 1 which was like this beautiful. And then episode 2, boom, we're back in the boys. The intensity hit instantly, and I'm like, oh, I'm stressed. I'm already stressed. This was too much. Like the way they balanced that throughout the whole season was wild to me. There was a lot more of like they show like the bear has become known as intense, and it's like somehow this season they've mixed in the calm, but in a
That
really good way.
yeah, the non-negotiables debate lasting for an entire episode, with other people coming in.
Yeah.
It's I am one of them dickheads who sits there and thinks I can write certain TV shows better than writers, and I'm like, it's not that difficult. I know you guys are more talented than me, but I feel like you're overcomplicating it.
Mm.
The Bear is actually a really good show to just remind me that I am not as talented as TV writers. Because my god, the writing for the show is phenomenal. The way they deal with the chef that we don't really know a lot about from Carmy's backstory, who like tells him about the Pope, the Pope tie on the
Oh,
chicken.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The one from the
That
French Laundry. I have a note
yeah,
on that somewhere.
that guy didn't feel like an actor reading a script. That
No.
interaction felt like you've stuck a camera in a kitchen where someone's teaching, because that felt like a conversation. It didn't feel like two actors reading lines. It was phenomenal writing. It was phenomenal acting. It's incredible how they managed to pull this off consistently, time and time again.
Yeah, it was like I'm not even sure. There's got it almost felt like that was the chef that he went to learn the chef stuff
Do you know
before
what I
doing the
mean?
show.
The way he was speaking, it didn't feel like he was. It didn't feel like it was someone else's words. It felt like someone who was genuinely just teaching someone how to do something, which is
Yes.
really difficult to get across in a scripted
The
medium.
that's what I feel like that's what I was like, this whole season has felt like they have done it's been more than just this is a chef show and like this is just a restaurant running. It's like
Yeah,
the writers have wanted to show that being a chef is more than just running a restaurant or whatever. There's like there's so much love across every restaurant for this craft, from the sandwich shop to these Michelin star restaurants. Like, and how I loved how they talked. I can't remember which episode it was where they talked about legacy and how it's not actually about if it's a successful night of food and the dishes go well. It's actually those chefs that come in, learn from the best, they learn things, they move on to another restaurant, they learn stuff from there. Eventually they open their own and they have like these parts from all the experiences. And it's that like legacy of spreading all of this, everyone's love for cooking and food and the experience of sharing that with people gets like spread into all these other restaurants because those people worked. Like that's throughout the whole season, and they just did such a great job, like with that bit with the guy from the French Laundry, like showing hit like all Carmy's like different points where he was working at the different restaurants, doing the different um points of his career. Honestly, it's such a
what I'm
beautiful
about to
show.
say, I don't think is going to be the popular opinion.
Okay.
The best episode of this season is the Tina flashback episode.
Also,
And I
so
don't think it's going to be remembered as the best episode because it's not as critical to the narrative.
no.
But that episode is phenomenal.
The
It gives us so much about Tina as a person. Io directed it, the actress who plays Sydney. She directed that
Here
episode,
we go.
which I also love because it plays it again. Like it loops back around to that feeling in season 1 and 2 of Sydney developing or helping Tina
Well,
develop.
throughout the whole season, we see that like um Tina's just development in like we talked about it from season 2 when you'd watched it, and she like got to go learn to be a chef finally and go to culinary school, and like that development she'd had. This backstory just like
That
just added so much to that like joy for her.
insanity. Like I said, I'm not a particularly emotional person. That conversation between her and Mickey,
Yes, and the whole loop
I was
around
on the
back to
brink that
episode
entire time.
1, where that's when he shows Tina the photo, because you see that in episode 1 and you think, "Oh, she's already working there." And then it's like, in that when they did that, I was like, "Holy shit, they've just looped this back." But
Yeah, it's so
one one
so good.
old beef was an absolute vibe.
Yes.
Such a great place, and they're bringing that back with the beef window, getting the 2 and I love that they brought them back for I forget his name, the older guy. Like, he was happy to do that, but then he's realizing he's struggling with it because it's a lot.
Ibra bringing in the old cashiers to just run the thing so
Yes.
he can just make the sandwiches is brilliant. Because his thing, I saw some people talking. It's like I love the bear. It's a great show. But if I was in my neighborhood and the best sandwich shop in the place
Yeah.
got taken over by the owner's little brother who turned it into like a Michelin style restaurant, I'd be pissed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, like, I love that they like, verbalized that as well. Like, they were saying to like, he said to Carmy, didn't he? He's like, "The locals are talking shit, like,
We
they're
need
not
to get
happy."
the bear open. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." But, like, you saw it when those 2 came in and started running and things were running smoothly, you saw on his like, he smiles as he's doing the sandwiches because, like, okay, this is what he missed. Now it's just in, like, a better, well-run system.
See, this is what this show does so fucking well with the human experience. And I talk about this all the time, and I always feel like a pompous prick when I do it. But TV media is about the human experience. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And I know on this show or on this podcast we talk more about superhero stuff, which doesn't as obviously represent the human experience. It's a bit more different, but the concept's still the same. But a lot of this show is about don't be afraid to try new things and go out for change
Mm.
and don't be afraid to reinvent. This season has also gone, okay, but you don't have to reinvent yourself every day. And if there is something you truly love doing, don't stop doing it. And
Yeah.
that's what this show is actually about. Or what this season focuses more on. It's like, yes, we've told you that change is good and you shouldn't be scared of it, but don't change so much that you literally don't recognize yourself, which is what Carmy's doing by changing the menu every day. And also, if you love something and you're truly passionate about it, like Ibra is about the beef, you
Mm.
don't have to stop doing it. Find a way to keep doing it.
W it's wild, like, you've also got to remember, like, so that episode 2 when he's, like, non-negotiables and he's, like, already redeveloped the whole thing, it's like, this is 2 days after he was locked in the fridge or whatever, it's like, "Oh,"
Yeah,
it's so they've come back in, they're like, "Right, let's get hopefully we can do things smoother now," and Carmen's like, "No, we're locking this shit in, like, this complete," and he's gone, like, full psycho mode,
hmm
and that's him that's them showing us his trauma come back, because immediately as a viewer, you're like, "You're just being like that guy that you hated and ran away from, and that kitchen that you ran away from." And obviously, it all comes like full loop, I think, in the last episode when he faces him and he's like, I hate it. The guy is a prick, asshole.
absolute cunt. Yeah,
Had some slightly valid points though, which really irritated me because he's like, I gave you great leadership. I gave you like all the, and like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, he did come out with like as an amazing chef. He is a great leader. Like, he has that like level that you need to have. Unfortunately, he got it through like the worst possible method. But I think Carmi,
it's
like, something clicked in that like
I.
final episode.
But also throughout the season, we've seen Carmy because of his trauma
Mm,
impart that trauma onto other members of the team.
yeah.
Sydney's having panic attacks, and she's
Yes.
starting to grow to resent Carmy the same way
Yes.
Carmy feels about Jeff Winger. I forget his actual name.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Marcus, this is flying under the radar, but it's going to be a problem. Marcus is turning up hours before everyone else and working and doodling like a madman. Right now, it's just coming across as, oh, he's inspired by Carmy and trying to be creative like Carmy, but we know where that leads.
So what I think Marcus is in that early stage of like, he's found that like Carmi had already like helped push him to find that love for baking and stuff. I think this season he's like really finding it and he's using it as a way to obviously handle losing his mum and like finding a way to put that into his this crap like, and he wants to learn and he wants to develop himself. He is Carmi in episode 1 when we're seeing all the flashbacks of him in these different kitchens, learning things, loving it. I think what's gonna happen, like you say, Sid's already past that. She's getting the trauma put onto her, and she's developing that same thing that Carmy hate, like you were saying, hated of his chef. We see through this whole season Sid struggling to want to sign the agreement. She's obviously
Yes.
now in. She gets offered this other job. Then in like episode 10, they're all talking about like they went on to other kitchens. They then went on to do other things. People had experiences and they left. Everyone talked about their experiences. I feel like was adding to her being like, maybe I'm not wrong for wanting to move on. Maybe that is actually what I'm supposed to. And I think because Kami's been a prick, a psycho this season, he's pushing her away. I think he's clicked now at the end, but it's going to be too late. He's already caused the damage to Sydney, and she'll want to move away. And maybe they'll rekindle that friendship in a healthier way. But I think he's going to flip, and then he's going to realize before he does it to Marcus, and Marcus is going to get the actual good experience of like like Kami got at the forever and whatnot.
And this is another thing we've talked about. I've been very clear that it's really uncommon in shows to see a genuinely beautiful friendship between a male and female character, because
Mm,
once there's a natural chemistry there, writers want to make it romantic. And them refusing to make it romantic actually makes this hit harder, because you're not going through the normal what you're used to of, oh no, there's conflict in a loving relationship, but we know it will get resolved.
mm,
We know friendships end, and we don't romanticize friendships in the same way of always assuming they find a way,
mm,
which means it's a lot scarier a prospect that Sydney might leave and not come back. That as like someone who watches a lot of TV, which a lot of people are,
mm-hmm.
you're conditioned when you see a couple have if like headbutting moments, you're conditioned to go, they'll work it out. So you're not as scared. When it's a friendship, it feels a lot scarier because you're like, wait, in TV shows they do end friendships,
Yeah. And I think
which
maybe
which
there's
I think adds that layer of
I
intensity
think,
to it.
yeah, I just the way that she was avoiding signing it, everything is like you can see it's like she's feeling like Kami's just making all the decisions. He's making the dish decisions. I think the last episode has got her more conflicted, which is why she ends up having
Mm,
the panic attack at the little after party.
yeah.
Um, because she was hearing all these stories of people talking about, yeah, they keep like the chef kept turning down our dish ideas, and then eventually when they agree to it and you see it goes out and they'll take credit, but like your parts on that dish, I think helps shift her perspective a bit. But then it's
Hmm.
like she's also getting all these stories of like how people developed going to other places. She's obviously in this like unknown. I think I
Absolutely.
think Kami will click. I love Unk. I love how Unk is being this father figure, and I don't think he takes computer's advice and shuts it down. I know he's saying he will
I
if the review's bad. I think Kami will do something that shows like he's realized he's fucking up.
I think a life insurance check for Marcus's mum hits the table, and Marcus fronts it.
Oh, maybe. I just think Unk is showing his soft side about how like he feels like he didn't do enough and stuff for the boys. I think he's and
And
the
I
way he
think he
was
also genuinely believes that they can make this work if they have
yeah,
enough time.
yeah, and he believes in like giving them the chance to do that dream. He obviously like is showing that soft side, which I think is really also again great like with the what we've said with all the characters, like he was shown as this almost like mob style uncle who
He
had
is absolutely a criminal. Let's be completely clear here.
we don't know that.
No, no, he
Uh,
absolutely is. Also, sorry, when there was his delivery arriving in the second episode, he goes, "What's that? Nunya? What's Nunya? None your business."
he
So
did
good.
he just absolutely like I do love how much he was like giving Kami shit constantly, but then also
This is
showing the soft side, which is like,
and this is the thing. This is why the dialogue works so perfectly, because it's actually not intelligent dialogue in the sense of it's not written to sound like it's been written.
mm,
It's written to sound natural.
Yes.
Thi we have all been hit by a joke like that.
Mm.
Like, that's what happens from especially from, like, older parental figures. They're the kind of jokes they hit you with. That's a dad joke.
Oh yeah. And it's like when he comes into that as well, he's like, "What are you lot all arguing about?" Because he's like, he's just, and when he's like, "Why are you here?" And he's like, "Maybe because I put like 80, like maybe because I
Yeah,
fronted the cost of this. I'm
yeah.
here because I
Maybe 'cause I
want to be."
fucking own the
Yeah,
place. Yeah,
because, and it's like, and then the bit later when he's like dropping the golf clubs off, and he's like, "Oh, have you seen my like 9 iron? Is that what's been shoved up your ass the whole time?" And then they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm totally fine, not worried about the review at all." And then they go, "Yeah, I've been thinking about the review like nonstop."
non-stop. Yeah.
And then open up
Um,
to each other a bit. I thought was really good.
this this show, if
Cousin.
it can if it can keep up this pace for 5 seasons and end, it will unequivocally go down as the greatest show of all time in my mind. And I know in the past I've always admitted to being a recency bias fanatic. I think I'm on the money this time.
Oh, this is like this season has just the fact that this is the third season, and I feel like they've fucking elevated it so much again is wild to me. Can we talk about how Cousin has the best fucking takes? Like his disgust to tip culture, I think is brilliant. And then his what was the other? He had another take. Oh, the whole like the idea that a restaurant should we should be putting ourselves through this for a star that was made up by some tire company because they wanted you to drive more and sell tires. Like his anti-capitalism sort of like takes, I'm loving.
Yeah. I I I would actually be more than happy. And you know what? Charlie Storner, I think is the writer. I forget his name though. So forgive me if I got it wrong. I love your work. Season 4 needs to just be 10 30-minute episodes, 8 30-minute episodes of Carmy doing a couples counseling session with each of the main characters. An episode with Cousin, an episode with Io, an episode with all of the facts, an episode
Oh, the
with
fucking facts.
Sugar. We'll get onto that in a
Yeah.
second. But like, or even just like one episode where like we do like a joint therapy session. Because A, brilliant storytelling to be told there, but Carmen needs to sort his shit out because I love the dude, but he's ruining everything by refusing to talk.
I think he needs to talk to Cousin at least. He needs to talk to Sugar. He needs to ring his mom and face that. And then he also needs to face Claire Bear. And I
I
think
need him to
those,
sort out all the other relationships first,
yeah.
because then he will actually be ready to fix it with Claire there.
Um, Also, can we talk about how like fuck the feels for Cousin with the whole when his daughter's like, "Oh, you're alone," and it's like you can tell that was like a knife in the heart for him, and then
Mm-hmm.
him like struggling with that of like seeing his ex happy and obviously happy for that, and then also being like, I love how they're showing what like a healthy co-parent situation can look like. And like the development from him being a shitty co-parent into realizing like his character growth to then be like he is happy about it and then even willing to step back because he doesn't want to mess with the kid. Hit the
I
heart, man.
I do have to give his ex some shit though for putting you in the position of coming to her wedding. That's a dick move.
It's tough.
The
But
man still was still wearing his wedding ring.
well, yeah, but like I get because his daughter might have if she's wanted him there. It's that thing of like it is a tough
Just
thing that probably parents do have to deal with,
yeah,
and
just it's
it's
crazy. Don't
it's
ever invite
almost
your ex to your wedding.
or at least like have a good conversation about it
Yeah.
than
Don't
just
put any pressure on them to come to your wedding.
yeah. Um, honestly,
Now one of my favorite kind of unnecessarily favorite moment in the entire show. Something
mm.
I didn't know I needed, but was a genius decision.
I know what's coming.
The reveal of Sammy Fack being John Cena.
Yeah,
Because it was kind of a nothing introduction as well. They didn't do the thing a lot of shows do when there's a cameo and just like sit the camera on the person for a second to
mm.
like wait for the applause to die down. He's come in and I'm like, That's John fucking Cena. John Cena's a fact, and when all the other facts have been of a
Mentioned.
no, but when all the other facts he's like seen on screen have been a very distinct style of person and not
Yeah,
being overly muscular, not being particularly
yeah,
tall, for him to come in just jacked to the nines
yeah.
is so funny.
I
That casting decision is genius, and once again, Dwayne the Rock Johnson falls further down in the wrestler acting
yeah. Oh
rankings
yeah.
because
The
Dave Bautista and John Cena could do this role. Dwayne the
oh
Rock Johnson could not.
honestly, I don't think anyone other than John Cena could have done that. It was
No, it was
perfect.
phenomenal.
But like obviously through the season one, we had obviously just Matty's character, who obviously I'm very biased to the fact because I love Matty Matheson. I think he's incredible and so funny. And it's like
Hmm.
him then bringing his like brother or cousin. What's Ted?
I don't know. I think it's his
I
brother.
think his brother. But like then we've got two facts always there, and it's like such a funny dynamic between the two of them. Like the most comedic. And it's great because you've obviously got the intensity of Carmy, and then meanwhile you've got Matty going, "Well, yeah, me and Carmy are best friends, so I know what's best for him." And we're like, and then the whole constant thing where they're like, "Yeah, yeah, okay, okay, no, no," and they're just repeating. It's like they know what they're thinking.
The facts are phenomenal. They are the only characters that I'm like I need a spin-off for.
I need more of them. I just want.
Keeping
I
up
want. Keep
keeping
giving me
up with the
more.
facts.
The,
I hope before this show ends,
mm,
we get a reveal of what their sister did to piss Sugar off so much. Because
yes,
Sugar calls them love and like mothers the facts. She
yeah,
adores the facts. They mentioned that their sister wants to come for dinner, and she's like, she can go die in a hole.
yeah. She's like,
I
what
want
does
to
she
know what
do?
she did.
But yeah, Sammy being like, I love that they're like, oh, we need some help to get the floors buffed. Like, we're not gonna do this in time. Ring Sammy, and they're like, okay, another fax coming. Here we go. This is gonna be chaos. And then Big Musty guy comes in and he's like, assesses the job perfectly. Right? Yep, we've got Yep, yep. Okay, let's get to work. Let's do this. And then there's
Also, the
smoking.
haunting is so good.
Oh, I want to not usually want to steal something from a show and feel like force it into my life, but I need to use haunting in real life. I need to make that a
It's so
thing
good.
in our friend
Also,
group or something.
and the beauty is, it was introduced as a joke, but it was then used as a theme thematically.
Yes. And well, it's like it was a joke, it was a quick thing that like Sammy's like, give me the password, I'm gonna haunt you. And you're like, okay, this is just like cousins, brothers, whatever, fucking with each
Yeah,
other. Then there's the story of, oh well, Uncle Gary and Dad, he haunted him for 13 years or whatever it was. And like he did some wild shit to him. And you're like, this is just some like next level pranking, essentially. Like this is
I
just
just, it's crazy.
to then they turn it into like a metaphor for life with like
Yeah,
and they're like, Carmy, you're being haunted.
yeah.
It's
Claire
It's
Bear's
Claire,
haunting you.
Claire Bear's haunting you. That's why everything's going wrong. And then it's like, wait, what? How have you made this philosophical, like, like a life thing? But yeah, I need more facts. I need more of them.
A
Also,
new FAC a season. A FAC a season.
the thing
Six
I
facts and a movie.
the thing I love the most is knowing Matty Matheson is a chef and a great chef, but his character not being able to serve food and has no clue how to do it. The the
The
walking
soup
the
bit.
walking
The
out with his
soup
soup
bit
and
is
taking
so
it
good.
literally that he pours it in front of him and he walks back in and he's just like, and that's the soup poured in front of you. I take this away now, and he just walks
Yeah,
away.
because the thing
Walks
is, he
back in and he's
poured
just stood
it,
there.
and it's below the camera. And I'm
Yeah,
like, why are we seeing this? And he's like, okay, have a nice meal. And I'm like, okay,
and then
why are we watching this? And then you see the tray come back into shot. I'm like, what are you
I was
doing?
like, and he just walks, and he's like so stuck because he's like so focused on what he's doing. And he walks back in and he just stood there, and Carmen's like, "Why are you
The fuck are you
here?"
doing?
To
Yeah.
which then
And the
cousin's
cousin just
seen him, and
appearing.
he's like, "I know, I saw everything. Don't worry, we made a mistake. I wasn't
So
watching."
funny.
Um,
And also, I resent you for this next bit.
oh
I When we were discussing awards, I was like, "Is this show a comedy?" And you're like, "No, not really. You lied out your ass. This show cracks me
yeah,
up
but
every
like,
episode."
here's the thing. I said there is definitely plenty of funny moments, but I wouldn't classify it as a comedy
No.
show. Like,
No, no,
it is
it's
a
absolutely a
yeah.
comedy.
No, I still classify it as a drama.
Oh yeah, no, but here's the thing. I think a lot of the time when you say comedy, people think of sitcoms.
Yeah, I think that is also, like, what
You can
but
be a
it's
comedy that isn't like just like
yeah.
three camera angles.
I think also, though, it's the way that even the cast were like, "We don't think we're a comedy, but okay."
No,
I
it's
think
too
it's
funny to not be considered a comedy.
this season more than the others has been funnier.
It's
Um,
just, and the problem is because the show's so intense, even if it's a stupid joke, because it literally cuts the tension, you
mm,
can't help but laugh at it. Like if
yeah,
it was a legit comedy show and he goes out and does the soup thing, you're like, oh, that's a funny bit, well written. But the fact that you've got the intensity of the kitchen and Carmy losing his mind at people, Fax trying to be helpful and fucks it
the
royally,
constant
you just can't help but
cuts
laugh.
and, like, obviously we get that, like, the fast cuts of, like, things being refire, like, all that stuff. Classic bet, like, the way that they produce the show to that sold the intensity so much, like, on each, like, night of service. But can we talk about episode 8?
Okay,
Sugar's gone to get Seafolds.
was that episode
The
8?
yeah, the instant stress that I felt when the bear, like, theme music kicked in when she's in the car going into labor, like, that music started, like, the really intense from, like, season 1. My brain, I
Oh yeah,
was
no, sorry. She
con
starts going. She realised she's going into labour at the end of
yeah.
episode 7. Yeah, sorry, that's what
So
confused me.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So episode 8, it starts with her in the car, and it's got the bare, like, intense music. My brain and body just went, "I'm instantly stressed. This music has me stressed because obviously I'm conditioned."
Well,
That
here's the thing. At the end of episode 7, she's
mm,
getting the sea folds, and you get the weird cut where you see people locking their phones up. And I turned to Jenna and I'm like, she's about to go into labour right now. And she's
oh,
like, what? What do you mean? Why do you think that? I'm like, because we've just watched them lock their phones away. And earlier in the episode, they said, we're going to start locking our phones away. There is
yeah.
no reason to show that before the transition unless it
And
matters. It's Chekhov's gun.
don't forget that computer also said, "Why have you got a phone for the bear? You don't take reservations, get rid of it." So there's not even a
Yeah.
phone for the front desk anymore. Like, any form of contact was gone. And yeah, that
But yeah,
stress and but then that whole episode turned into such a, like,
cathartic episode.
yeah, like, honestly, couldn't imagine having to go through labor and also face the family trauma of your mum in the room with you and deal with that at the same time.
It's so funny that she called her mum because she was obviously scared and didn't know what to do. And then her mum comes into shot, and you can just instantly, she's like, I made a
This was
poor
yeah,
decision.
yeah, the instant mistake, and that her mum had me stressed when she was
Yes,
like,
yes, yes,
"Just
yes.
breathe," and she's like, "Can you shut up?" Like, the fucking he.
So crazy.
Um, but I mean, yeah, then obviously the final episode, that funeral dinner, like, with Olivia Colman's speech on things, the way that Richie just hung out with the servers. I wonder, and maybe, like, this is probably me wanting the best for Richie, but why do I feel like he maybe ends up having a thing with the female one?
They seem like they
There's
make each
some
other happy.
there's some chemistry there, but whether they just keep it as, like, a friendship thing, or I was like, get her to come to the bear. Get her to come to work at the bear and get shit in order. She'll help get shit in order. Um,
Also, need more Will Poulter.
yes, he's great.
So good. So good. He said he's staying for a few months. I'm
Mm,
hoping that means he's in a fair bit of the next season.
I think he comes in and helps at some with some stuff.
And it was so
Um,
nice to see. And again, it just showed. I don't know if it's just the natural chemistry of the actors, or if they all got really well, or if they were just phenomenal actors. But when like Carmy sees Luca, and they had because like we've known they were friends and they
yeah,
worked together a lot, but seeing them kind of go, "You're right, bro," was fucking awesome. It also because like we know Carmy's average-ish height, and we know Will Poulter's quite
yeah.
tall. But seeing them two next to each other,
Kami looks so
really
small.
funny.
Oh,
So funny.
so this is where, like, obviously I have no fucking clue about famous chefs or whatnot.
Hmm.
Whether they, I don't know if they use some
The
famous or
guy that Luca was talking to who paid
yeah.
no attention. I assume he's also a famous chef.
I presume him, and there was someone. There was a few others talking, and like that Carmy was, I think, talking with. I feel like some of them had to be like famous chefs, but yeah, when he's asking him like the 20 questions was so fucking funny because you could see that the guy was just not interested. And then you like, he realizes after he walks away, like, I've just been that guy at the party that absolutely picks the brain of the famous person. It was
So
so
here's what I'm
good.
gonna do. I'm gonna invite Will Poulter to come and pick my brain about whatever the fuck he wants. I don't have anything to offer him, but I like his voice and he seems likable. We can go grab a beer and he can pick my brain about anything he wants, even if it's the most boring thing ever that I know nothing about. Let's do it. This show, oh my god,
But that whole
I'm.
like,
You know me, I'm not a big rewatcher.
mm,
I am very much right here. I'm like, this is definitely a show I could go and rewatch occasionally because
mm,
although it's intense and it is emotionally draining to watch, it feels cathartic.
yeah, it
There
was.
is some real pain poured into this show.
I don't know if it's like it's. I think it's the just the depth that they go into each of the characters and really just like show it from like almost a human perspective. Like there is no like over drama. Obviously, there is over dramatization. It is a show, but like it doesn't feel over dramatized. It feels very real, and a lot of what they're dealing with, each of the characters, feels very real.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, the whole show is this like love letter to food and running a restaurant and chefs and that whole like industry. But especially that last episode, I said it earlier, but that when they're all sat around the table sharing their stories was so almost like the writers being like their nod to all the chefs and the nod to the people that work in these fancy restaurants that have this like love for the craft of the food. To then Olivia Colman's speech, um, and then obviously it ends with like Carmy having his little talk with her on the outside. To then the wildest thing of Olivia Colman and Will Poulter and like them having the after party at Sid's flat. Like, you think out of all the people that were at that dinner, and Olivia Colman's like, I'm gonna go party with the bear. And Carmi's not even there. Like,
The
obviously it's because like
this
the show obviously is focused on them characters, but it was just funny the idea that this Michelin star restaurant owner is, and Sid says it, she's like, I forget her name in the show, but like Olivia Colman's character opens it and she's like,
Chef Terry.
Chef Terry's in my fridge. Chef Terry's looking in my fridge and I've got nothing.
Hmm.
Just pizza, waffles, and caviar.
This I just again I'm very well aware that I am a what I've seen recently matters a lot. This show is different.
Mm,
It just is. I can tell you that right now. I can tell this is going to be a show that I'm always. It's a show that you wish you could see for the first time again.
yeah.
Just like Breaking Bad, just like seeing Star Wars even for the
Yeah.
first time. There are moments in your heart that you're just like, I wish I could have that feeling again for the first ever time. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
It's and like we've talked a lot about the show and how well it's written, but like also the artistic like it feels also like such an amazing show and why we're calling it like probably one of the best. The way that it is shot from a cinematographer point of things with the using the blue lighting throughout, like that color blue being like a constant artistic choice throughout. All the characters have it like we saw multiple characters from that blue light POV using just like the slow cinematic, like the shots of the food, the way it's all like the intense cuts. We've talked about it in season 1 too. Like the way that this show is put together is so well done. Like it's the
Yes.
writers, the director, like, everyone on the show has fucking aced it.
I've never seen anything like it. This show is going to go down in history, and this show is proof that good TV is still being made.
Hmm.
And do not believe these nutters who want to claim that like the best of TV is behind us. because there are still some incredibly creative people out there just waiting to get their chance.
The season ends with the tease of the review,
Yes.
and Carmy's reaction wasn't a great one, in my opinion, which makes me
It
think it wasn't
based
great.
on like the flashing of words we got, it looked like the review was kind of
Mixed
there's a lot of
almost.
great ideas, there's a lot of great talent, but it feels directionless. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the vibe we got from the words being flashed up. It's kind of like I see the vision. I know there's talent back there, and
Mhm.
it's a lovely vibe, but it's not good enough right now.
I so season 4, I wouldn't be surprised if Sid does leave.
Hmm.
I think Marcus keeps developing into an amazing pastry chef. I wonder, it's either going to be a case of Unk gives him another chance because he's like, oh, well, the review wasn't terrible. There was good in it, so we can keep going. I think Kami's like flipped a switch. Hopefully, this means he kind of comes in and he's like, okay, I need to lock this shit in. Like, I need to focus and actually be doing the right thing for everyone here. Maybe simplifies it down. Or is there a world where he's like, let's just go back to making real good beef sandwiches?
I'm telling you, this show ends with the bear closing and the beef being reborn. I'm telling you.
That, or it's like he simplifies the menu down on one of the like to the point where it's like it's essentially a beef sandwich on a plate. Like he takes the essence, because it's also like I think his cousin talks about there's no atmosphere or family vibe in the seating. It feels very like there's no experience there.
Oh, do you think they turn it into like a beef vibe, but with bear food?
Possibly simpler, like, and I also wonder: does Kami Sid leaving, and Kami goes, "Fuck it, I don't want a star. Let's just do this my way." Simplifies it, brings the vibe of the beef back, that family space, like community vibe. Everyone like, and they find their groove, and it's like a great place. And by doing that, someone's going to secretly come in and review it, and they're going to get a star. And it's this like, idea that you trying so hard to get it, it was never going to happen. Actually, you just had to do your thing your way, and it worked that way. I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of comes. They give up on the idea of a star, do it their way. Actually, how like they would like Carmy realizes like actually what he wants to do for a restaurant, and in doing that, that gets them the star that they wanted.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. The show's going to be interesting for sure. I think we're going to get a lot more emotional gut punches before stuff starts to get better.
Yeah.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
next season could be really, really depressing until the very last episode where we get that glimmer of hope.
Yeah, I think it's. I think they're gonna do the exact like this one had so many ups and downs with like stress to calm to the gut punches and the heartbreak. Like it's gonna have us all over again. But
Hmm.
I'm so ready
For
for it.
sure. Yeah. Phenomenal show. Can't get enough of it.